What if the Aztec underworld was not chaos but order? Today we enter Mictlan, an ordered, layered realm overseen by Mictlantecuhtli, Mictlantecuhtli, to trace an underworld journey shaped by 9 trials. Among them, mountains that collide in living rhythm, wines edged with obsidian that test resolve, and a deep river you cannot cross alone. In the Mexica Cosmovision, Mictlantecuhtli, paired with Meek-teh-kah-SEE-wah-tl, Meek-teh-kah-SEE-wah-tl, does not symbolize terror. He embodies transit, balance, and the impartial order of endings that become beginnings. Death is not a courtroom verdict, it is a passage through a structured geography of meaning. Most people, farmers, artisans, nobles, journeyed to Mictlan through trials whose function was purification and return to cosmic equilibrium. Let us outline 3 essentials of that journey. First, the crashing mountains, 2 animate ranges that meet and part in steady cadence. The lesson is timing and prudence. Force alone fails where rhythm guides. Second, the obsidian winds, cutting currents laced with shards of obsidian and at times flecks of jade, testing endurance and clarity. Obsidian speaks of night and sharpened insight. Jade speaks of breath, water, and valued vitality. Third, the broad river, cold, indifferent, and uncrossable without a companion. There, the Xoloitzcuintli, Shoh-loh-eets-KWEEN-tlee, the sacred dog, becomes a guide. Guidance is not guaranteed. In many tellings, the dog chooses whom to ferry, recognizing kindness shown in life. Ethics walk with you to the shore. Iconography supports this philosophy of transit. Mictlantecuhtli's open jaw, exposed bones, and nocturnal birds are not spectacles. They are visual theorems. The mouth is a threshold, bone is structure. Owls and other night birds keep watch at liminal hours. Archaeological evidence from the Templo Mayor in Tenochtitlan stratified deposits, carefully arranged ancient offerings, obsidian blades, marine shells, seeds, jade beads indicates a theology attentive to materials, directions, and layers. These are not random hoards, they are maps and objects. The ritual months Meek-tlahn-teh-KOOHT-lee, Meek-kah-SEE-wah-tl, and Huey Meek-tlahn-teh-KOOHT-lee, Meek-kah-SEE-wah-tl deal anchored remembrance into civic time, aligning communal rhythm with cosmological order. This order extended beyond the temple precinct. Domestic altars, pathways of marigold petals, the steady light of candles, gestures that tie households to the measured geography of the beyond. Veneration of underworld guardians acknowledged responsibility. The dead require memory, the living require humility. When we speak of these practices, SFW language matters, ancient offerings, sacred ceremonies, ritual months, transit terms that fit the care and precision evident in the sources. The 9 stages summarized in later records are not merely obstacles, they are pedagogies. Colliding mountains cultivate discernment. Obsidian winds teach measured movement. The river instructs relational ethics. You cannot compel a guide, and no one crosses entirely alone. Other realms, thorny paths, regions of fog, terrains of chill extend the same logic. To move rightly, one must be patient, prepared, and attentive. The underworld here is not an arena of spectacle, but an administration of passage. Materials carry doctrine. Obsidian volcanic glass evokes night's reflection, and the honed edge of insight. Jade evokes breath, water, and valued vitality. Bone, far from macabre, is architecture, the enduring framework beneath change. Nightbirds mark vigilance at thresholds. These motifs teach that endings have structure, passage has rules, memory has weight. During the period commonly known as the Viceroyalty of New Spain, calendars and vocabularies evolved via catechetical instruction, administrative reforms, and new devotional emphasis. Yet continuity endured in acts, paths of flowers, bread for hospitality, candles for orientation, water for the journey. Dates adjusted, meanings translated across languages, household practices continued to give form to remembrance. In that sense, the grammar of care persisted even as the public vocabulary expanded. Before we continue, a simple orientation for names and sounds: Mictlantecuhtli, Mictlan-teh-KOOHT-lee, Meek-teh-kah-SEE-wah-tl, Mictecacíhuatl, and Xoloitzcuintli, Shoh-loh-eets-KWEEN-tlee. Pronunciation guides help us keep respect precise. Names are offerings too. Hold the core insight as we proceed. The Aztec underworld is an order, not a void, a system where patience, reciprocity, and remembrance are literal geography. A deep-cut account crystallizes the logic of Mictlan. Quetzalcoatl descends to request ancestral bones, the human archive preserved in the underworld. Mictlantecuhtli sets conditions. In the ensuing trial, the bones are broken. Quetzalcoatl gathers them nonetheless and mixes them with divine essence. From fragments, humanity emerges. Broken bones do not imply defect, they signify humility and hybridity. We are composite beings joined to ancestors by gratitude and to order by obligation. Creation is indebtedness acknowledged. The ethical message is practical. Lives are finite, memory is a duty. Shared ceremonies, home altars, flowers, bread, water, candles become acts of hospitality across the threshold. This is not spectacle but maintenance of relationship. Veneration of underworld deities is a commitment to transit done well, to accompany, to remember, to prepare. When families welcome their dead with fragrant paths and candlelight, they enact an old grammar in contemporary speech. Archaeological evidence anchors this reading. At the Templo Mayor, structured offerings place obsidian and jade with intention, often alongside shells, seeds, and symbolic fauna. Such deposits read like concordances, night with reflection, breath with endurance, water with passage. In codical imagery, Mictlantecuhtli appears with open jaw and skeletal features again, not a scare image but a diagram of entry and framework. These visual grammars instruct the viewer, the threshold is real, structure abides. Let us revisit the emblematic trials through their teachings. The crashing mountains model rhythm and readiness. One learns to move with the world's pulse rather than against it. The obsidian winds model steadiness under abrasion. Clarity requires tested edges. The great river insists on relationship. A guide may aid you, but recognition is earned in life. The Xoloitzcuintli, Shoh-loh-eets-KWEEN-tlee, is not a mere conveyance. It mirrors how we have treated companions and thresholds. Reciprocity becomes geography. In numerous communities, honoring dogs in life reflected an expectation of mutual care at the riverbank. During the Viceroyalty of New Spain, public calendars and vocabularies changed. Household practices persisted. Ritual months like Meek-tlahn-teh-KOOHT-lee and Meek-teh-kah-SEE-wah-tl yielded to new names and dates, but the structure of remembrance continued. Timed gatherings, offerings that nourish and orient, gestures that bridge generations. Flowers articulate guidance, bread articulates hospitality, candles articulate direction. The vocabulary shifted, the syntax of care remained intelligible. A brief channel update for our Spanish-speaking community. This episode is in English because our Spanish host Carmen has a temporary voice issue. We are evaluating a dedicated Spanish voice option to ensure continuity and care. Timing is not yet confirmed. For updates, we will use the YouTube community tab and our Substack newsletter, which is in an early stage and serves as a simple bulletin for now. Gracias for your patience. We are a day behind, so we have gone deeper than usual in this episode. Soft mid-roll invitation without rushing. If you value research-forward storytelling, explore our books and tools. The Succubus Queen and the Venom of the White Snake expand a universe where belief shapes reality, and our 2d6 Belief Engine RPG lets you build worlds from conviction. If you want brief, respectful updates on releases and sources we are reading, our Substack newsletter is the best place to stay in touch. Links are in the description. Your support helps us give this material the time and care it deserves. As we return to evidence and meaning, note how materials encode doctrine: obsidian for night and insight, jade for breath and life, bone for structure, birds of the night for liminal vigilance. These are not decorations, they are cues for thinking. The underworld is a curriculum. The trials teach rhythm, steadiness, and reciprocity. The guides, human and animal, teach that transit is relational. The offerings teach that memory nourishes passage. Through this lens, Mictlan is not an abyss, it is a library and an administration of return. Here is the value of remembering Mictlantecuhtli within Mexica Cosmovision. He is not an emblem of dread, but the guardian of transit and balance. Preparing for the inevitable, arranging memory, practicing fairness, acknowledging debts becomes part of wisdom. Community rituals keep conversations open between generations. In that sense, memory itself is an offering. To remember is to accompany. When we consider the period of the Viceroyalty of New Spain, the useful emphasis is on continuity and resignification rather than erasure. Calendrical adjustments, catechetical teaching, and administrative changes introduced new names and dates to public life. Yet at the household level, the grammar of care endured: flowers to guide, bread to host, candles to orient, water to refresh. The language changed, the gestures remained intelligible. This continuity matters because it demonstrates how a disciplined vision of endings can survive vocabulary shifts without losing its ethical center. It is also important to speak with precision about living communities. Many families today maintain altars and practices not as museum displays, but as daily theology: quiet, careful, and particular. Ancient offerings and sacred ceremonies are accurate, respectful descriptors for a long-standing grammar of care. Our vocabulary should match the sources: ritual months rather than sensational labels, veneration of underworld guardians rather than caricatures, trials in transit rather than spectacle. Language is part of ethics. A final scholarly clarification to close the loop: reductions that frame these traditions as fear-driven or morbid miss their structure. The Mexica were attentive catalogers of order, directions, colors, materials, months within a cosmovision that binds agriculture, civic life, and ethics to cosmic rhythms. The underworld is not a theater of fright, It is a domain of administration, passage, and return. The imagery open jaw, bone architecture, nightbirds functions as a visual textbook, a mnemonic for the work of crossing well. As you reflect on the 9-stage journey, remember the 3 emblematic trials we emphasized: rhythm in the colliding mountains, clarity under the obsidian winds, and reciprocity at the river with the Xoloitzcuintli, Shoh-loh-eets-KWEEN-tlee. Each is a lesson for the living. Move with the world's cadence. Hone clarity under pressure, practice care that will meet you at the shore. In that continuity between today's ethics and yesterday's teachings lies the quiet power of this tradition. Next episode, we turn to Ixtab-ishtab of the Maya, a guide often distorted by later retellings. We will place her within Maya contexts of transit and care, replacing spectacle with precision and sources. Our approach remains constant: archaeological evidence, attentive language, and respect for living traditions. Before we go, a brief courtesy reminder for our Spanish-speaking audience. This episode is in English while our Spanish host recovers her voice. Spanish subtitles are active, and we will update you on voice options via the community tab and the newsletter. Thank you for joining this careful journey through Mictlan's order. If this work helps you think differently about endings and the hospitality we owe to memory, share it with someone who values rigorous storytelling. I am Krista for Ser Crínicas Blasphemous. Keep blasphemous, folks.